Welcome to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharavana Raghavan.
Sharon, in this day and age of people taking offense, you have decided to use Indian and ape in the same line.
Yeah.
While I get
So this,
the emotion, but where is this coming from?
no, I'll tell you where it's coming from. But before that, I'll tell you a small story from back in my MBA days.
Mm,
So we had these professors coming in from the US, from across the world at Great
mm,
Lakes.
mm,
And they were really high quality, I mean, top-notch professors
mm,
in big colleges,
mm.
MIT and stuff like that.
Wow.
But they were professors who'd left India in the 70s and
Okay.
then made it big in the US. And they were now coming back because of the network and all. So this professor was a very nice guy, and he
Mm.
wanted to break ice with the students. He wanted to be one among the students. And to break ice, he played two sounds for us.
Okay.
One was the whir of an engine, like,
Okay.
like an F1 engine it was.
Yeah.
And then was the sound of kitchen utensils clanging around.
Uh-huh.
So he said, what's the difference between the two sounds?
Uh,
So nobody really got the joke or even his question for that. He
uh,
said, one is Italian engineering and the other is Indian engineering.
I-
So
okay.
nobody laughed in class. In fact, most people were offended. And when he said aping the West, right? So people, when they leave, most people, when they leave India, they come back after a long period. They believe India is in a time warp and is exactly as they left it.
Uh,
The India that he came back to was no
uh,
longer willing to take a joke on its
uh,
capabilities in
mm,
2003. And
mm.
that's exactly the aping bit, that the narrative that's being built mostly by the West, saying, okay, we are here, India will catch up with us now.
Okay. Okay. Understood. Okay. And I remember we spoke about this in one of the episodes where you spoke about modern trade.
Right.
And you worked in modern trade yourself. And you said that it was supposed to reach a certain
50%.
percentage, etc., etc. So therefore, now what are we saying? That India has broken the mold, or India is emerging very differently from Western world? What is your core hypothesis here?
I'd say it's both, because we've had an inflection point in the Indian economy with VCs and PEs coming in and trying to crack the market. It's becoming more and more evident that there is no template to India. And the Western template that was being enforced upon the market is no longer working. And we've broken away. I don't say we've left them far behind or anything of that sort. We're just different, and we need our own playbook. We can't afford to play with somebody else's. And
Okay.
that's what this episode is about, because it's about the many signs that we are no longer afford to just simply ape the West, but do the hard work to understand and crack the Indian market for what it is.
Okay. So let me start with one of the examples that we just quoted. Let's start with there, and then we will try and understand this better. Modern trade, right? So now, are we saying that the model has failed in India, or people were not able to apply it properly in India? What is your core point on modern trade?
So India didn't reject modern trade. So if you look at it, how it's evolved in the West is very different from how credit and retail evolved in India. So in the US, more than half the retail stores are owned by Walmart Group, and everybody's got a car. You drive to it, you do your job yourself. You go there, buy in bulk, load up your car, and come back. So there is this phenomenon of stocking up in the US because you get discounts. And in India, we have this habit of topping up instead of stocking up. And we buy as and when we need, because in India, not every household has a car, but every household is within 100 meters of a grocery store.
Correct.
And they can always afford to just walk up to the store and buy. And we have this glorious door delivery service even before quick commerce. And that is how retail is different. And that is why modern trade hasn't cut through in India as much as it has in the West.
Okay. Fair. So, okay. But within, now let's not paint the entire modern trade with one brush. I remember Big Bazaar, innovating, finding ways, Kishore Biani finding different ways of succeeding in Indian market. They made their stores look like sabji mandis or anaj mandis, etc.
Right.
So unfortunately, it didn't survive. But had it survived, would your narrative be any different?
Okay, I have a slightly different point of view on Big Bazaar. That while they adapted to create the mandi effect for India, to create that discount feeling for India, which is what Walmart also did. If you read Sam Walton's book, he talks about how he made it difficult to buy and therefore people believed they were getting a discount. However, Big Bazaar's backend was entirely built on the Western model. How many SKUs to keep, having a broader assortment meant more business, how to categorize, and how do you offer a specific value to the customer was completely westernized in the back end. But the more Indian example, one success story that I would still talk about even today is D-Mart, where they have built their own model for India. And so I went to D-Mart to shop a couple of months ago. It is a horrible experience to shop in D-Mart. The only reason you shop there is for the discount. And nothing else. They don't have a wide assortment. They do not give you great service. They're polite, but it's not. So in a crowded store, the store people will bang into you, push you aside so that they can get their way through. And they lock your bag. It's not a very dignified shopping experience at all.
Yeah.
And D-Mart is very sure of not providing that to you. And even with suppliers, right? They don't take 1+1 offers, because while it is value for the customer, so they take 1+1 offers. They don't give this Bonvita ke saath Oreo free and all won't fly with D-Mart, because to tag the SKU in their system and make sure it's available at the point of billing is a system issue for them. They don't want that hassle. They don't believe they got much to gain. They say, give me the price discount. I'd rather take price than give a product free, which simplifies my complexity.
Or maybe it is also coming from them understanding their consumer very well.
Absolutely.
That their consumer would much rather get a price off rather than a value add.
Yes, that's what they tell us, which is fair. But it's also the backend is built for D-Mart. Even owning the store, right? That's an Indian concept for knowing how Indians will, if they're getting a discount, they're willing to travel. They're not going to do it every day. And you're right, understanding the consumer, understanding the market, understanding the business, all of that. And that's why D-Mart is the wholly Indian model, while Big Bazaar is an Indian model in the front of it.
Okay, fair. Now, let's move to quick commerce.
Yep.
Started in US.
Failed in US.
Picking up in India. Rather roaring in India, in fact.
Yeah, it's roaring. It's the whole thing, right? In the US, when it came up, people put in so much money and they lost so much money. It just is not viable. But in India, which everybody predicted this is going to go away and this will not last long, and we're spelling the end of it after COVID shutdown, after COVID lockdown ended. But it survived. And it's doing so well. And it's a lot to do with our local realities, our density of population, the low cost of labor that we have to use in delivery, the UPI transaction making it easier for people to pay on delivery without conflict. And we have this habit of getting people to do things for us, which is very cultural to India, right? And in the US, you don't really ask people to do things for you. It's all about being independent and being able to do everything yourself. Here, you get people to do it. So you don't mind asking people to deliver it. And this is, and obviously this is not something new. We discussed this a little while ago to say, this is basically home delivery that regular retailers offered us. It wasn't a new behavior. It was just a new conduit with the app.
Correct.
That is why it's working for India.
Okay. But, I still take your point around D-Mart. Specifically, quick commerce. All of us know that, it hasn't achieved scales. It is not profitable. So would it be sufficient to term it as success or the right model for India?
So there are two aspects to succeeding, right? One is you getting viability in the market. The market is accepting you as a service. And then you're operationally finding it as a viable business. most occasions, making a viable business is the easy part. Market acceptance is the hard part. Here, market acceptance has happened solid. It's not going back. People aren't going back from quick commerce, but they're not using it exclusively as much as the narrative wants you to believe that. But people aren't going back from quick commerce. Now it's up to the operators here to manage the operations to make the business profitable. The consumers are ready. Consumers want the service. Even if these top guys go away, somebody else will come in to fill the void because the need has been established.
Okay, fair. Okay. And I'm trying to think of examples that have possibly the concepts that had originated in US and have done well in India.
Right.
Food delivery, Zomato, Ola, Uber.
Yeah.
How about them?
You're right. They started off in the US. They started off as aping the West, like the title says. But the truth is that they are, to succeed, they had to Indianize. So Uber had, the whole point of Uber's proposition was seamless payment and credit card. Indians don't use credit card. So they had to evolve into cash and UPI later. They had to include autos. It's not just about comfortable drive, it's also about quick service. And then Rapido, which has now overtaken Ola and all that. I offer bike taxi, which is from the southeast, and then adapted to India. So this expansion, cars, autos, this is the Indianization of the American model. You can take it, no harm. But you've got to understand your local consumer and provide them according to their need and their realities. Even restaurants, right? They've been trying different approaches. They're trying vegetarian downloads. So I think only in India do you have the vegetarian option in the menu when you look at a restaurant. So there's a button when you order on Zomato, Swiggy. You can click
correct.
veg,
You can
and you will
select.
see only the veg options. You will not see the non-veg options. It's hidden from sight. That's only in India. Because even by mistake, you don't want to order the non-veg option. But these are adaptations for India. It's not just about aping the West. And I think Zomato evolved, well, it started off as a menu listing app. It kind of evolved into the food ordering after Swiggy came in. And it's no harm starting with your idea, but make sure it's adapted for the local market.
So you're saying you can take the inspiration from anywhere, but customize it.
Absolutely. You can start anywhere, but make sure you end where India is.
Okay. Much like Mr. Anu Malik.
Good one.
Okay. And fair. And, we had spoken about this earlier and we had spoken it in the context of premium versus value.
Right.
So we'd said that this might seem contradictory, but they are actually not.
Yes.
Right? Now, that would influence this business model as well.
Absolutely. Because as Indian consumers, there's so many contradictions when you come into the market, right? And if you are a Western educated marketer, you are looking for that linear equation to say this is what the consumer is doing. And you will never find that linear equation here. You will find a person with the latest iPhone 17 Pro haggling for 10 rupees with the sabjiwala. And you'd find, say, people, the kind of option they choose for living room, bedroom, and bathroom are so different. You look at living room, the most expense is put into the living room because that's where the guests come in.
Correct.
Then you have the bedroom and then the bathroom.
Yeah.
But if you look at the West, it is the private spaces which have the most expenses. The common spaces have the least of expense because they want to spend it on themselves. So I'm sure you also know there are Indian households which have crockery, utensils, and everything reserved only to use when important guests come home and not for everyday use.
Correct.
So there is this quote from the series movie Fargo, if you've heard of it. The Coen brothers. It says, even the most ridiculous parts of the story are true. I think that's the quote that applies to India. Say, whatever you've heard about it, whatever you've not heard about it, even the most outrageous parts of it are all true. You find everything here. And this will only make sense once you understand the social leanings, the signaling, the visibility, the resource allocation the Indian families resort to while making these choices.
Okay. Okay, fair. And therefore, to an untrained eye, it might seem that the Indian consumer is very unpredictable.
I will change from the untrained eye. I would put it to the Western style linear logic seeking eye. Yes, it will
Okay.
seem impossible to crack. Like, that is working. This is also working. So I think I'm also being a little linear in my approach when I say Indians are being contradictory. It's more than contradictory or inconsistent. I'd say Indian consumers are being more contextually intelligent, saying what I choose now is not something I choose always. And therefore, marketers, you have a tougher job to do.
So you can't take them for granted or think that you've already figured them out. Okay.
Absolutely.
Fair. Understood. So, contextually intelligent is like I don't know, slightly a term that possibly needs a little bit more explanation.
Sure.
So can you give me some examples or help us understand what does this mean?
So if you look at the episode, we spoke about this healthy snacking report that we published.
Correct. The Vitral report. Yes.
Yeah. In that, we spoke about how they say, one of the examples was they say maida is really bad.
Correct. Yeah.
But
Yeah. We spoke about this. Yes.
but they do not know why it is bad, but they say it's bad.
Huh.
So we avoid maida.
Huh.
So what do you avoid that is maida based? You don't
Huh.
cook so much with maida at home. So what do you avoid? So
Huh.
we avoid pizzas and burgers.
Yeah.
So how
Okay.
often do you have pizzas and burgers? Once a year. Okay.
Mm.
So how often were you having before you avoided it? Once a year.
Mm.
It is more a justification to not have a pizza and burger. But how often do you give Maggie to your kids? Once a week.
Once a week. Okay.
And how often is our biscuits consumed at home? Every day.
Yeah. Okay.
So Maggie gets in because children want it at the
Yeah.
time of day where the mother has no energy to put up a fight.
Yeah.
Says, I will add health to it.
Yeah.
And biscuits have this healthy halo associated with them to say
Mm.
they are baked and not fried, and
Mm.
they've got vitamins and this and that, and great for old people to have with chai. So biscuits get. So now
Mm.
this is not inconsistent or illogical. It is just very logical in her context. What is the harm that maida causes is different. She doesn't need that. She says, I will avoid maida where I can. These are occasions where I don't want to. I don't want to put the effort to avoid. And there is this point which I don't really have the data to substantiate. I'm still putting it together. But that even the concept of healthy snacking, right? I think is a Western phenomenon which is being force fit into India. Because
Okay.
in India, we usually have somebody making our meals for us, all meals, be it with a bhai, with a Maharaj, mom, wife, whoever, or even cooking yourself. You have somebody making breakfast for you. You have somebody making lunch for you. All your 3 meals are cooked for you, even if you're not cooking it yourself. It's a little rare that you have processed food for your meals.
Correct.
Therefore, non-processed food, cooked food, is considered healthy. It may or may not be, but it's perceived to be healthy.
Non-processed food. Oh, yeah.
And your only outlet for processed food or indulgence is snacking. So snacking by nature is for indulgence. But if you look at the Western context, they live more siloed lives. You don't have people being able to cook all their meals. They have high processed food consumption. And the only controllable consumption occasion that they have is snacking. That is the only place they can fit health into. Because everything else is processed. And changing that takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Therefore, I believe the entire point of healthy snacking is a Western phenomenon. And there was this TED talk I was listening to. It's an old one by Aparna Bharadwaj of BCG, where she talks of how Indians' snacking habit is because the Indians snack socially, the West snacks individually. And therefore, the choices are very different because of this.
It's a good point. And that's why Indians are intelligent in different contexts.
Exactly.
They might not
Contextual
seem
intelligence.
consistent. Yeah. Okay. Understood. Okay. And but when you say snacking, healthy snacking, you're still seeing a number of brands starting from your Right Bite to Whole Truth to Slurp Farm and some other snacking brands who seem to be doing well.
How do you define well? They exist in their niche and they're doing well within their niche. If you look at Whole Truth, while the outward impression is that of your snacking, the primary revenue comes from protein powder, which is the niche product. It is similar for, so in a way, Muscle Blaze and Whole Truth are more competitors than Whole Truth competing with the Cadbury.
Okay.
So it's got zero comparison to it. So it's selective emerging segments. I wouldn't call them emerging segments. I call them niche segments, which are not indicative of majority behavior. The mass still wants taste, satiety, value, and they're not looking at protein per gram. Yes, there's Super U, which is going gaga. I think these are brands that are bigger than the business.
Okay. Fair. I'm sure Shashank Mehta will not be happy to listen to this particular comment of yours.
I don't think he'll be happy to listen to most of the episodes we've discussed healthy snacking in.
Okay. Fair. Yeah. Okay. So now, if the consumer is contextually intelligent, how do you target them? How do you segment them? How do you target them?
You do not target them by NCCS, SEC, ABC, NCCS. Those are very convenient ways of segmenting audiences. And increasingly, that is proving to be a little futile, given how different Indians have been. So when I said Indians are no longer following the West, so there was a time when India's upwardly mobile class willingly followed the West. Then the divergence began after 91, 92. And we've increasingly become divergent and will become even more divergent as time goes. Therefore, putting us into these buckets that are predefined buckets is not going to work. So Rama Bijapurkar in one of her books talks about a different kind of classification, about psychographic attitude model. She talks about, I think I've got it written down. It's called strivers, aspirers, the resigned, mainstreamers, and the successful. The Whole Truth is talking to successful. And the mainstreamers are talking about Whole Truth. The strivers, aspirers, and resigned are not more the mass.
Are not bothered about it. Okay.
If you look at this quote by Seth Godin, right? They say, we make things like this for people like us. So it's going to be more and more niche. It's going to be more focused on the consumer's attitudes, their thought process, their life stages. And only then can a brand connect with the consumers.
I like the way you described Bijapurkar's way of segmenting. Seems more psychographic than dependent on geography or earning or whatever. So which means that you can segment people by how they behave, how they think, rather than where they live and how much they earn.
Right. So this is again a quote from Bijapurkar. It says, India doesn't have an organized distribution problem. We have an organized consumption problem. Which is your
interesting.
Which is your sachet. Saying distribution is fine. You can look to solve for it. But this goes back to saying not everybody consumes the same pack size. You would have different pack sizes. That's why the Dove shampoo at 3 rupee works even against a 1 rupee Clinic Plus, the same Unilever product. So people have their own way of finding access to their products, how they align with the product, and how and when they want to consume it. Their rhythms are different. And therefore, you have to be conscious in your, your price pack architecture to know who you're going to for what and where you're going to be available. And this in Cadbury is what we had called the must-sell SKUs. What is sold where?
Actually, it is with this example of sachet that we had discussed about aspiration versus premium, right?
Because the aspiration is always there, but I can't afford it very often. So I will have it as and when I want it.
Yeah. Accessible premium, accessible aspiration versus just being premium.
Absolutely.
Okay, fair. So now, quick one. There are reports that say that modern trade, the Western model, is making return to India. Any idea about that?
Yes, I do. In fact, there is this startup called Supercare,
Okay.
which are opening up small supermarkets in tier 2, tier 3 towns, and even lesser. So there it is very different from how modern trade worked in India or worked
Okay.
in urban centers. There, for women to go out and shop is the only outing they get because the entertainment avenues aren't as many. And because they use it as the outing with the family or with their friends, they quite look forward to it. In fact, they plan to go together, 2, 3 women together go, and they make an occasion out of it. And it also has become a way for them to discover new brands than what they used to before because they don't go to the store as much. They always send a list to the husband buys, brings it back. But this is actually getting them to step out of home and for the reason of shopping. It's working, and they're doing it again in a very Indian model. There are no air conditioners, at least as far as I know. Maybe they changed it now. The very, very small, compact. If you know, this is what Subiksha intended to be,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the model that I think that's the direction they're going in. Basically, they're Indianizing it for the tier 2, tier 3 towns.
Subiksha, I remember having seen Subiksha and having gone there, seemed like an organized sabji mandi.
I think they're definitely better than that. If you look at Super Cave pictures, I haven't been to a real store yet. But I've
Okay.
spoken to them and I've seen the pictures, and they're doing pretty well. I think the stores are breaking even. They're building on a franchise model, so the store owner knows the neighborhood, so the implicit trust is there. It's not a corporate coming into your location. So that way, they're making it very, what do you say? The local fabric is ingrained in the system there.
Okay. Okay. And a lot of this is visible in the form of UPI also, I think.
Oh yeah.
It serves multiple needs, gives convenience to somebody, and gives small payments to somebody else.
Yeah, because it
Mm.
kind of just fit in, right? Because the change was so easy and you didn't need too much of change in behavior. You just need adoption. And that adoption happens so fast. If you look at even waiters and valets today, carry QR cards in their pocket because
Yeah.
people don't carry cash for tips. You pay UPI tips.
Correct. 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 Yeah. Your sabji walas, pan walas, everybody has it. So it's a brilliant thing. Okay. Okay. Now tell me, uh, we spoke about Bijapurkar's model of segmentation,
Right.
basically saying psychographic segmentation, etc.
Hmm.
So therefore, from a marketer point of view, this is what will you call it? This is psychographic segmentation or micro segmentation?
This is a kind of micro segmentation and niching down because in India, we've always had this complexity of caste, class, language, and different family structures that we live in. And people thought with the emergence of global media, we will become a homogeneous structure. So it becomes easier for people to target. But what this social media has done is created micro niches for every segment. So you could have a consumer thinker like from New York to Berlin and Tokyo, but the same person might not be in sync with their neighbor living next door. So in a way, I'd say the world today is becoming more like India, filled with micro niches and uber segmentation that marketers and brands are going to have to adopt.
Interesting. Interesting. So it is world becoming more like India versus India becoming more like the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we used to this fragmentation. We might not have explicitly exhibited it in the way we run a marketing, but we used to it. If you look at the Unilever CEO statement, HUL CEO statement a couple of weeks ago, said we're going to crack down on segmentation and go really sharp. What that means is they tried copying D2C brands, but that is not what they really need to do, and they failed. They are great at segmentation. Now they've got to go even deeper in the segmentation, and I honestly believe the era of the global brands are over. It's going to be micro brands that work in niches and then collectively owned by these conglomerates. That's the future.
Fair. That's a big statement. And I hope companies like Unilever, P&G, Cadbury, etc. are taking note of it.
I think they've already, we are taking note of what they're saying.
Okay, fair. So good. I think a lot of things to take away from whatever we have discussed thus far. You're saying that India is not following the West; it is evolving differently. It has its own formula, and therefore a copy paste would not work. You might start from West, but you would have to Indianize it. Second, what you're saying was that when you look at consumers, don't think of them as homogeneous creatures. It might sound like contradictions in the way what they say and what they behave like, but it is actually contextually intelligent. And that's how you have to think about their needs in different need states.
Yep.
Right. Related to that is the third point, which is you won't be able to segment them by geography or by how they earn. It is more micro segmentation and psychographic segmentation. Fourth piece, UPI tells us, sachets tell us that, like you said, the problem is organized consumption. So therefore, there are small moments of consumption. If your brand is designed to ride on it, you will always succeed. And that's where we have to win the game. And lastly, your big, bold prediction, which is the India is not moving towards the world is moving towards India, right? So therefore, possibly what we are saying is that for every entrepreneur who is watching this episode, you can take inspiration of your ideas from anywhere, but take due care to Indianize it and to make sure that it serves some of these specific needs that Sharon spoke about of Indian consumers and how they think and how they are, in every context, they're making different choices. Right? Okay, good.
Perfect.
So can I sum it up, Sharon, by saying that be like Anu Malik? Excellent. I think one person in this world will have a sound sleep today.
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharavana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobcast.net.